Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Elodie Jones and I will be facilitating your course, which is MIT 885, and this is the practicum that involves your building of an electronic portfolio. At this point, we've been communicating since the beginning of May. I love to give people a heads up if they're still in the classroom and there's something that you can record or do in advance of this class when it involves peers or it involves students. So I wanted to alert you in advance just what the expectations are with regard to recording those personal training videos. Remember, those personal training videos are of you actually leading a training session. Some of you have talked to me about what you will do over the summer since you don't have students, because you don't have a classroom. We'll adapt and move through that as we need to. If that's a concern, again, email me and we will work through that together. So at this point, what you have is you have a syllabus and you have access to the online community. That community is going to serve as a repository for you to post any documents that you'd like to share if you want to ask for peer feedback, or as just a place to hold your items in a repository as you're building your electronic portfolio. Today I will spin out your electronic portfolio to you. It will come to you in an email, and it is a shared site that you are not the owner of, but you are an editor on. And then when the class is over, I will make you the owner, and then I will get rid of myself and some other faculty members that have access to that actual site at that point. One of the things that I have kind of told you in advance is that this a portfolio that you're developing is something that is going to be a little bit frustrating at times, and it's going to challenge you. There's things that you'll pop right into and you'll have no problem or difficulty with, and there's other areas that I believe are going to challenge you. My main objective with this is not to get to the point of shutdown, but frustration is something that's normal for any learner, and you have to come up with mechanisms to move through that, whether that's going to be research, whether that's going to be asking peers in this class, or whether that's going to be reaching out to myself, whatever modality you're going to use. But you need to come up with something as far as how you're going to move through some of these processes that at this point you may not have had along the way in your coursework. Most of this is not developed for you, and you are going to have to develop it on your own, as you've been told. With regard to this class, another thing I highly value is the use of that Google community to post on, but also peer review. So it's nice to start getting that peer review from your feedbacks on documents. But at the very end, you will be asked to submit your portfolio to 2 individuals. One person in this class will review it, and you can make that connection on the Google community, and then you're going to need to distribute it to someone outside. And that person does not need to be a teacher. That person does not even need to work in your school. It could be a teacher at a completely different school. It honestly could be a spouse, a friend. What I find out is if we use someone that knows something about the process, like an internal person, they're looking for different things than if you ask a complete outsider. And the feedback from this has been incredible as far as what people feel they get back and what they learn about themselves in this process. So they are not grading your portfolio. They're simply going through, they're looking for everything from content to grammatical errors to things that just are simply unclear. And one of the things we know in the assessment process and any building of any tools is the more eyes we get on something, the better quality we're producing. Whether that's a document, whether that's a student-based assessment, it could be anything. It reduces the issues with bias in that you could use wording that people don't understand. It also increases reliability and validity, because the more eyes on it, the better and more reliable tool you're probably developing. So I'm a huge fan of peer review. Just a little bit of a backstory. When I started teaching this class last fall, it was my first time to have this portfolio-based process. And although I've dealt with portfolios that were all completely web-based using Dreamweaver, the one thing I realized is when we use tools like Google and they change preferences and settings, I was having problems actually accessing everyone's documents. And it was really, really frustrating. I would go in and I would find out right away I couldn't open this document, or I couldn't leave comments for this student. And when I sit down for 2 and 3 hours at a time and I'm ready to grade, I want to be able to have access to your documents. So this process of having peer review was actually twofold. One of them was for me. When I know that you've had peer review, that means that 2 people have asked you to open up those documents. So I know by the time I've seen it, and I'm the 3rd person, that all those documents are going to open, they're going to be out there for me, and they're going to be accessible. Second of all, I think one of the most important things we do as professionals is peer review. As teachers, we tend not to really want anyone in our classroom. We don't want anybody really seeing what we're doing. We want to shut the door and do our own thing, which I think is important, but I think that's a little bit scary in the fact that I think we become better when we have really great critical peers that are helping us to develop our classrooms, to develop our curriculum. And as long as we look at this as a creative process, as long as we look at this as peer feedback in a non-compromising way, and we're really just trying to make our peers better, then I think that we're going to get the best possible product out of this. So just to give you a little bit of background, what you will do is you'll move through this process as you load things up in the Google community. I get an email and then I go out and look at it. At that point, I want to be able to open up your document, for example, your resume, and I want to be able to leave comments. In some of those instances, I really like to be able to make some edits, and so I will leave editing marks in your documents. The biggest thing is most of the instruction and the guidance is contained inside of that actual portfolio, which I'm going to spin out to you today. And so you need to read the portfolio and ask to see what the guidelines, or read to see what the guidelines are before you just start slapping things in, before you start developing things. It will save you time and it will save me time. So those are some simple tips that I would ask that you engage in along the way. So lastly, I want to welcome you to this class to tell you just a little bit about myself in this introduction video. Again, my name is Elodie Jones. I tend to just go by Elodie. Not really one person for formalities, so you can just call me Elodie. I'm fine with that. Second of all, my area of interest is technology. I'm actually teaching this class that's finally in my area of interest. In the past, I've taught in teacher education, and I've very much been a generalist in classes like Foundations of Ed, Curriculum and Assessment, and Educational Psychology. Last fall, I was able to move to advanced education programs and actually start teaching in my area of interest, which is instructional technology. So I want to welcome you to this class. Please do not be hesitant to ask questions. Please do not be hesitant to email me and tell me if life is getting in the way and you're struggling. I'd like to find that out beforehand than after the fact. There's some of you who've realized that this is a big task to take on for the summer, and you have other things coming up in your life, and you've decided to drop and take it in the fall, and that is completely fine. I completely get it. So as questions arise, ask me, ask your peers. We're all here. We're here together, and we're here to support you and make you as successful as possible. One of the things I lastly want to leave you with is this idea that you will be taking a comp. You need to register as an intent to graduate, so it produces a list for your advisor. That could be me, it could be Dr. Becking, Dr. Moody, and then we are the person who will conduct your comp. I will spin out a calendar here in the next couple weeks and ask you to sign up for a time, and that time is a 30-minute time frame that's set at the Central Standard Time, and I'll give you more directions about the comp. The biggest thing with the comp is that your portfolio is complete, your reflection needs to be complete. There's a couple things you can wait to do until your comp is over, but more or less you need to have everything completed. And I know Dr. Becking is going to start comps around the 10th probably of July, and I can wait just a little bit after that, but we want to wrap up and get your summer rolling here. So I will let you go for now, and if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to call me, email me, or we can even have a Google Hangout. So have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.